Hello, Hilla.
Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, just if you want to give a brief introduction on yourself, that would be wonderful.
That would be great. So, I'm Hilla. I'm a mom of three kids. I think this is the most important thing. But beside that, I'm an aerospace engineer by training. Did that and then went to the Israeli Air Force, been a test manager at the Israeli missile test range, which is the awesome thing to do in the Air Force. I became the test manager of the Iron Dome project, fell in love with the system and with the team, and then decided to join the development team at the Israeli Ministry of Defense. Did that for very extensive 4 years. Then decided that I want to do exactly the same, but on a civil issues. So I went to the civil government, to the Director General of the Ministry of Transportation, led infrastructure projects, highways, railways, and so on. And then in my last position in the government, I became the Director General at the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. It was like closing the loop because I did space and then I did again defense with a lot of work with the Ministry of Defense and policy and public sector. And then the end of that, after just finishing my duty to the government, I funded Moonshot. So I'm now the CEO of Moonshot.
We'll get into what Moonshot is all about. But I want to first start with the Artemis 2 voyage. And I watched the Artemis 2, the splashdown last Friday. And I felt something just sitting there watching it. I felt something, beyond science. It felt like almost spiritual to me, watching four humans returning from what has been the farthest journey from planet Earth and then watching them return to Earth. And I felt this like collective, global, like holding my breath that everything would go as planned. And I'm really curious, what does it feel like as an aerospace engineer, as an Israeli, as a woman, watching this unbelievable, momentous occasion as someone who herself has talked about wanting to go to space?
So I will say that here in Israel, it was in the middle of the night, and I was sitting in my living room with my three children, don't going to sleep, just to see that they're arriving. And I can agree with all your feelings. It was like phenomenal moments. As an engineer, you think about all the things that can go wrong, and starting to remember the day that Ilan Ramon and the Columbia tried to return to Earth and unfortunately didn't make it. I was a student back then. And those moments of waiting them to come back, it was an amazing moment. I sat with my two girls, having a woman on a Themis. It's something that I think that you can tell it in words how much it is important that our children and our daughters and our sons can see that it's the same. What does it matter? There is women and there is men, and they all go to the moon and they all come back. So it was a really amazing. And I think that this is what is so amazing about space, that it doesn't matter your age or where did you come from or where are you living. It's like all the same. It's moon that every one of us seeing every night is the same. So this is why I think space is so unique, and this is what makes a lot of children go to learn science because of space, dinosaurs, and robots. So these are the three that makes kids love science.
Yeah. So, Hilla, you've said that to be an aerospace engineer, you have to be very optimistic. And I'm wondering, where did you get your optimism from? Is that something you were raised with? Is that something that the work you've done has built inside of you?
I think that it came from, from my origin, from my mom and dad. And it's not like, let's say it will be okay. We will work very hard, but we work very hard and we'll believe and it will go out the way it should. The difference between civil engineers and the aerospace engineers, the difference between pessimism and optimism. Because to be an aerospace engineer, to believe that you will send a rocket, it will take 4%. It will take them up. Nothing will happen. They will reach out to the far side of the moon. Everything will work. Physics will work. They will go around it. Then they will come back. They will succeed in re-entering. Then they will succeed in the splashdown. So you need to do a very good work, but you need to be optimistic and believe that everything will work and there will be no failure. So if you don't have that, you will not be able to do that. Let's take the civil engineers. They're not sure that they calculated right. So they double it by 10. Then they put a bit more concrete to be sure that it will not fall. So this is how I see the difference.
Yeah. And then you went into the Air Force. That was your service in the IDF.
Yeah, in the Israeli Air Force. As I said, I was part of a very unique unit. It's all engineers and it's the missile test range. So it's like Houston.
Mm-hmm.
We have like the command and control room, and we are managing a complex launching of different kind of missiles, like the Arrow 2, like the Israeli space launcher. So with the OFEC satellites, the OFEC 7 was on my duty. It's like, very young, I would say kids now, 21, 22, 23, 24, launching a satellite, doing all, like you saw in Artemis, the control room. I was managing the control room with all around, all the good to go. Are you good to go? Yeah, we can go. We can go all the countdown for the 8 hours. And back then it was just felt normal. Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my service. I think that just after a lot of years, I understood the real meaning and the real opportunity that it gave me to get a very hard decision under a lot of pressure, to manage a very complex processes. All of those became my tools when I went to the other positions that I've been in the government.
So Iron Dome is one of the most extraordinary technological achievements of our time, and you were part of that. I would
Yeah.
love to talk about what it felt like for you to work on something as revolutionary, where the stakes are so high, literally life and death in a moment. It sounds like your training and background in the IDF were all ingredients that maybe led to this ability of yours. I'd love to talk about that.
So the first time I met Iron Dome, I was at the Air Force. I was part of the units. I was a very experienced staff manager by that. So around 3 years managing experiments. So it was a new system. No one knew what it is at the Air Force. So they told me, okay, try to understand, try to figure out what we are doing with that. What the hell are we doing with this kind of systems? We don't have something like that. So I met the development team at the Ministry of Defense and in Rafael and all of those. And I like been with them for all the last year of development of the system to learn it so I can prepare and manage what we call the acceptance test. The test that the Air Force doing in order to say that the system can be operational, that the system is working. So not the one that developed it, the Air Force. The first time that the soldier goes into the system, operated by themselves without any personnel from the industry, and saying that it's good. And it was an amazing year because just from the beginning, to see the people working around it, it was obviously that one, we are making history. Second, it's something totally different. All the technological approach, all the project approach, everything was totally different. And in a matter of what I needed to do, in a matter of missile testing, it was also something else. We haven't done this thing before. We needed to develop a whole new methodology of how to test it safely. It didn't have all the regular equipment like we have in other missile systems like the Arrow, all the abort possibilities and all. So we needed to have another way of testing it. And because the system was in a very different approach from other missile systems. So it was an amazing year. Then we finished the test. a month and a half later, the Iron Dome became operational. And around 2 weeks later, there was the first operational interception, the 7th of April. It was on my wedding day. So we're like, it's for life.
Did you postpone your wedding, or did you?
I had a lot of of thought about that, but I went on the place where we did the party of the wedding. I went to the offices to see the TV all the time to see what's happening, and it was around an hour before my chuppah, so it was right. It was very exciting. It was a very exciting day.
Like, I do launch.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. And then I really believe that I cannot do anything else. In the test unit, you are doing some system test, and then you go to the other system, to another system, another test. And I really didn't want to let go of the Iron Domes. I left the unit. I joined the team itself, the development team itself at the Ministry of Defense, and been there for 4 years. I was in charge of the testing, not the acceptance test now, about the development test program. I was in charge of the integration of the batteries, and I was part of the negotiation team back then with the Obama administration. So it was a really amazing 4 years. It was very extensive 4 years because we had like every 2 to 3 weeks, we had like a small war of 2 to 3 days because they were checking the system to see if it was a bit raining, they shot some missiles and some rockets. And if it was like that, and we're always like in a race. But it's an amazing technology that keeps shooting. And more than 10 years now, it's almost 15 years. So
do you have a rough number of lives? Are you able to capture data of how many lives it saved?
You cannot do this calculation because life saved is a combination of the Iron Dome, of the shelters, of the sirens. So you cannot like extract one number.
Sure.
But obviously, it kept a lot of life. All the missile defense systems in Israel, the sirens, even just the sirens, which enable us enough time to go to the shelters. And you saw the difference now in the Iran war with what happened in other countries where they shoot on. And I have to say that we need to calculate also what damage it made, because it's like enable our leadership not to decide, not to solve problem. It's like Advil. You have a headache, you can go check what's happening, or you can take some Advil and will not feel the pain, but it will not solve the problem. So we need to look on all the sides of it. But obviously, as a technology, it's an amazing one. Obviously, there is benefits of having the ability to decide when to attack or not, and not to attack because a lot of people were killed here from rockets. So it's obviously one of the good things that happened to Israel. And I was really happy to be part of it. Small, but part of it.
Yeah, that's incredible that you can zoom out and look at like the calculation of the decision to, like you said, just go for it, the government's decision, knowing that there's this Iron Dome. But would decisions be different if you didn't have the dome to protect you? That's
right.
That's a very complicated analysis, I'm sure. So in contrast to Iron Dome, space is a long-term vision. And I'm wondering, what does it take as a society to hold urgency, like the creation of the Iron Dome, and a long-term ambition at the same time, and how Israel has the wherewithal to do that?
So I see it like on the same spectrum, because 50 years ago, space was very long range, and we saw that we got to the moon, but then it stopped because it felt like without urgency to keep that very extensive program. But I think that on this spectrum, we are about to understand, and the humanity about to understand, that space is an urgent solution for the problem we have on Earth. Mainly energy and rare earth materials that are just not enough for humanity. As it becomes more urgent, we will see things in space happen faster. And we can see that already the space sector became huge, and it will be much, much more big than that because of the urgency.
Hmm.
As human beings, we need urgency in order to do something. So I think we are starting to feel like the sense of urgency of going to space. We see the executive order of the Trump administration just in September talking about the moon base. We're seeing the Chinese doing that, also the Indians. So we are seeing that there is becoming a sense of urgency on going to space, and not just for the curiosity of us, not just for exploration, but for solving our problems here on Earth.
You're talking about countries like China and America that are not having daily existential threats, right? And so I agree with you that those countries can totally think about the urgency of space. But I'm just wondering, a country that lives under constant existential threats, how is it that simultaneously you are able to create world class innovation? Is that a paradox, or is it that pressure that is actually the engine? Is innovation in Israel despite the constant pressure to survive, or because of it?
I think it's totally because of it. Under pressure, you have to have very creative solutions. You cannot let time just go by. You are feeling in a race that you need to solve. You need to be better. You need to be smarter. You need to have better solutions. And it starts to be the essence of what you are. And then if you do it, like say in the army, then you became something else, not in the army, in the economy, but you have this ability to bring yourself to the edge, to think very creatively, not to fear from what will happen, to deal with the unknowns. So I think that here in Israel, because that a lot of us going to the army very young, again, I was like responsible of launching satellites. Just when 2 million is around me in the middle of Israel in the age of 24. It's not normal. And it's not because it was me, because this is the system that I'm living in that
Yeah.
got me to there.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a lot of pros in the situation that we are in, and we are trying to extract the best of it. And this is the best that we can get. So using this ability, creativity, a courage to do the unbelievable, and then us making it in other sectors, not just for defense.
So, Hilla, as a tiny country, Israel's played a real role in the global space efforts, including with NASA. What has Israel contributed that's distinctive, that differentiates and stands out?
So Israel was the 8th country to launch satellites. And back then, because we need to launch it west, we already managed to have small satellites, which are now like the main thing of the industry, like Starlink and so on. So we made those satellites when it was very unique because we didn't have any other option. I think that we haven't pushed it enough in the new era of space economy. So in the race between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all of those, Israel kind of let go because we were concentrated on our defense needs. It was like non-defense issues. So we are not taking, as I see it, enough part of it. So we kind of lost it, our ability to contribute to the space industry, to the civil space industry, to the new space economy. But I think we have much more to bring to that. And we have the abilities and the know-hows that maybe few countries in the world have. Because we are one of the fewest that still have the ability to do all the supply chain in order to launch their own satellites, manufacture them, control them on space. So we are doing that around every 2 years. We are launching a new satellite, all made in Israel, in the Israeli industry. So we have all the know-how and we need to extract it. This is why we established Moonshot. We will talk about Moonshot, but this is exactly what Moonshot's trying to do, to be part now of the global space economy in the civil aspect of it, and not just the defense aspect of it.
I want to bring this all into Moonshot, your company. Your team includes engineers from Iron Dome, Aero Project, David Sling, Elbit, IAI, Rafael, the best of Israel's defense ecosystem. What are you building? And if you can just explain it like in an earthly language to us earth creatures.
Yeah, so I got all the best. All the best are in my team, and I'm very proud of that. Going to space became much cheaper, so access to space has been much, much easier. And we see that now you can see Falcon going up every 2 days or so, something that happened like once a year and not a lot of years ago. But every rocket has the tyranny of the rocket equation. So when you have a rocket, you have just 4% payload because you need to take your energy with you. So you burn a lot of fuel that carries the fuel, that carries the fuel, that carries the fuel, that carries small things on the top. If you saw the SLS, which is huge, there was the Orion, which is a small spacecraft on the top. And this is the rocket equation. It's physics. So we have a small rocket and medium rockets and large rockets and huge rockets, but it's still rockets. And once we are talking about a real space economy, so we need a real supply chain. And in a supply chain, you need a diverse way to send stuff. So you can have rockets, but you have to have a way to send small packages and small prices, like FedEx. You cannot have a real economy just with large trucks. You need to have FedEx if you need to send a small package. And in order to do that to space, you cannot use rockets. So you need another technology. And the way to do that is to bring the energy from the ground. So it calls kinetic launch. And the concept is not new. Jules Verne already wrote about it 100 years ago with his space cannon. So it's actually like a space cannon. So bringing a lot of energy to the capsule and then using the inertia to go to orbits. We are doing it using a technology that named induction coil gun. So using power, using energy, electrons instead of chemical fuel. We are building like a bridge to space, a long life. You can think about it like a railroad of 1 kilometer, 0.7, which accelerate the capsule very, very fast. Then it leaves the cannon and it goes using the ballistic movement into orbit. So you don't have fuel. Again, the concept is not new. We didn't invent it. But what happened on the last years is that the technology became available regarding the ability to do that and regarding the price that it cost. And the space sector became relevant. So think about it. When you build a bridge from point A to point B, it's not enough that you can build a bridge. You need to know that there will be a traffic on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we know we can build a bridge, and we know now that there will be enough traffic. So we are building the bridge to space.
So just explain what's novel about Moonshot if it has been an existing technology.
It's an integration of a lot of different kind of technologies that have been developed for different needs and solutions. And what's novel about it, it's the scale. So let's say Sandia National Lab did the same technology, but in small scale. But the scale for accelerating a 1-ton capsule has never been done.
And when do you project that it'll be ready to go?
So we are hopefully will be ready to go to space at around 2030, 2031. We are aiming to build the first 100 meter, which will not go to space yet, but will take 80 kilos into hypersonic speed in 28 or 29 in Alaska, Poker Flat. If we'll do that in this timeline, we will meet the space industry just in the right time for, as I said, for the traffic to go over.
Wow. I'm curious what, if anything, AI plays into this.
AI, it plays for this in few kinds of, so it's not like a regular startup, which we are coding with the AI. We have some coding with the AI, but most of it are still real engineering without AI. But we are obviously using a lot of AI helping us do it faster. So the timeline is relevant because of the use of AI, because our developers developing much, much faster. And I will say that the important thing of AI is why you need this kind of system. One of the use cases, the most interesting use cases that we are aiming of, is giving the supply and the maintainability to the data centers in space. And the reason you need data centers in space is because of the AI. So you cannot build them on Earth anymore because of the AI. They need a lot of energy, they need a lot of place, they need a lot of water, and it's too expensive to build them on Earth. So this is why Elon and the NVIDIA and all of those talking about moving the data centers to space. And the Moonshot will be one of the enablers to do that.
Is this like happening in real time for you in terms of, I just see AI every day and its impact. So are you iterating constantly based on what's coming in?
Yeah, mainly the time frames,
Yeah.
because when we went out with Moonshots, we knew that we'll have this use case. But I will say that I thought it will come later.
Right.
But because AI is running so fast and the need for them to build more and more GPUs and more data centers are so huge, it came much faster than we thought. So we are iterating in a manner of the time frame, in a manner of what the capsule would look like, which use cases we will serve before that. So we thought it will be maybe the fourth or the fifth use case we will reach to.
Mm-hmm.
And as I see it now, maybe it will be the second or even the first thing to supply. So because they are moving very, very fast. We went with Moonshot like 2 years ago, and then Elon went 2 months ago saying he will develop mass driver, which is what Moonshot does, to send his AI satellites from the moon. So it's good for us that the industry realized the need, and that the need is so huge.
Is it almost like if you had to equate it to what you were saying, FedEx? It's like FedEx can be one, but then you need UPS and then you need DHL.
Yeah, exactly. There will be such a huge industry that you cannot, like, any economy which relies on one single company is not a good economy, and it's constrained.
Yeah.
So even though SpaceX becomes so huge, it's very important that Blue Origin and Bezos will have another one, and Rocket Lab will succeed, and all of those, because real and vibrant economy cannot rely on one monopoly. In that manner, we will have Moonshot. Hopefully, will be the biggest, but I'm sure that we will not be the only one. But I think we will be the faster and cheaper to reach market.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because before this interview, I was very fixated on the concept of like the urgency of day-to-day existence for Israel and how like the Iron Dome made sense to me, right? But it's because of that and the urgency to get Iron Dome up and running and the 1 year you spent with the program getting it ready to go that has enabled you, I assume, to be able to have this mindset and this urgency of constantly moving towards the finished product.
Yeah, I think it's the ability to understand that you are in a race all the time. I think that the second one is the ability to believe that we will find solution.
Yeah.
So even though you cannot see now all the pictures, and see the full puzzle, and understand exactly how it will work, but you understand that the big pictures looks fine. You can just rush into it and start developing, and you will find solution through the way. You need to believe it. And I think what happened to me and a lot of my engineers in the project that we worked is, once you are working in this kind of project that you obviously don't have all the answer all the time, but you need to believe that when needed, the solution will be found and in a good one. And so the most important thing is to move on.
Yeah.
I think this is what's enabling us now
Sure.
to go with Moonshot, because obviously I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I don't have all the solutions for a lot of problems that may come in the future, but I'm sure that I have the right team and the right essence to solve them. So if not from that way, from the other way, if not in this part of the system, so in the other part of the system. So I have the belief that it will work. And I think this is the important thing to have. So it's me and other in my teams, like already have this experience of success with doing the unbelievable.
Yeah. It's the essence of the Israeli way, isn't it?
Everything will be fine. That's what we're saying all the time.
So I'm curious, space is one of the only places where people from different countries can train and rely on each other for survival. Does that level of trust tell you about what could be possible here on Earth?
I hope that I could say that it is, but I'm not sure. I think that we have a lot to learn from what happens in space. There you and who is around, and you cannot be picky with who you work with. But unfortunately, as I see it, again, the world will be split to West and East, led by the US on one side and China these days on the other side. And I don't see them working together on rely on each other. I think that what happened at the ISI on the international space was so unique and just in one moment of our lifetime. It will not, I think it will happen again. I don't think we will see on the moon like a international base with all parts of the world. We see a West base and an East base on the moon.
Even on the moon, we're
geopolitical issues will always,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
In some way, Israelis will be, the fault will be on the Israelis on why we are arguing, yeah?
Of course.
We are ready for that.
You're ready.
This is our positions all the time. We take this role.
So you'll take that role up to the moon with you and just accept blame for anything that goes wrong. So Hilla, NASA's administrator said after Artemis 2, we are back in the business of sending humans to the moon, and this is just the beginning. If you could end this by saying something similar about Israel's moment in space, what would it be?
I think that Israel could be a leader at the moon base, at establishing this vision of bringing moon base to become a reality, of making a lot of what we need to do on space for all humanity. And I think that Israel has a lot to bring to the table in this essence. And I think that now there is enough people and the government which realize that it's a must. Because of the geopolitical issues, we cannot leave it behind or are not dealing with that. We have to be part of this race.
Thanks for listening. For more, you can visit Instagram at Grace for Impact Podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please follow the show, leave a rating and review. See you next time.